I'm Eric Parker. This morning on CT 22, Connecticut's senior senator visits Ukraine, meeting with that nation's president as concerns about a Russian attack rise. Richard Blumenthal is joining us to talk about that meeting and why we should all be paying attention to what's going on there. Should the governor's emergency powers be extended beyond mid-February? And if not, is the state legislature ready to take a stand on masks? We're talking with Connecticut's Speaker of the House and the House Minority Leader. And it was 2 months ago, UConn named Jim Mora as the new coach of the school's struggling football program. He shares his vision for the team and updates us on their recruiting efforts as well. It's all ahead this Sunday, January 23rd. CT 22 starts right now.
From WFSB, this is CT 22 with Eric Parker, sponsored by Hartford Healthcare.
Good morning. The world is closely watching what's happening between Ukraine and Russia. Connecticut's two U.S. senators, Richard Blumenthal and Chris Murphy, were among a group of 7 senators representing both parties to visit Ukraine last week and hold a high-level meeting with Ukraine's president. Senator Blumenthal is joining us now to talk about the meeting and concerns Connecticut's Ukrainian community has shared with him. Senator, thank you for being with us. What was the purpose of your visit and how did it go?
Very simply, the purpose of the visit was to express our bipartisan support for the people of Ukraine in their struggle against potential Russian invasion. And I have spoken to our Ukrainian community. It's a very vibrant and vigorous one in Connecticut many, many times. And I know of their solidarity with their families and friends in Ukraine. And we brought that message as well to the President Zelensky, the foreign minister, the defense minister, the top leadership, and to the people of Ukraine. A bipartisan delegation, 3 Republicans and 4 Democrats, all saying to the people of Ukraine, we're going to stand with you against Vladimir Putin, and his invasion will be a tragic and costly mistake if he does it.
Some who follow foreign affairs closer than I do, for sure, have said that Vladimir Putin may have some incentive to pick this fight. Some popularity issues at home, sort of stuck between the West and China, looking for a cause that he can have, and big bad U.S. would be a good one for him. You were quoted upon your return as saying he underestimates the U.S. So do you think that he's just picking a fight here?
He underestimates our resolve to support the people of Ukraine. No American troops, but American arms, which I think ought to be provided in greater amount and measure, lethal arms, so that the Ukrainian people can defend themselves, and also crippling economic sanctions imposed not after the invasion, but right now. So he understands we mean business. And those sanctions should consist of export controls, disconnecting Russia from the financial system, the SWIFT system, as it's called, and other measures. And our allies have to be in solidarity with us, particularly the Germans, to say they're not going to use any Russian natural gas, which is the economic lifeline that is the Russians' really source of revenue. Vladimir Putin is a KGB thug. He understands force, economic force or military force. And I think he's picking a fight at the wrong time in the wrong place. And he needs to be told that his aggression will be met with force.
In talking about the sanctions, you said they should come now, not after the invasion, as if it was a fait accompli. The president, speaking at his press conference this week, he was quoted as saying, my guess is he will move in. He has to do something. Do you share President Biden's view on that?
There are very serious, incredible reports that Putin may invade after the ground freezes so that his tanks can cross land more easily. He has troops on 3 sides of Ukraine, most alarmingly north in Belarus, which is only several hours away from Kyiv, where we visited, the capital of Ukraine. So there are a lot of signs pointing that he will, as President Biden said, move in. But there's still time to deter him. And that's the key word here, deter. That has to be the object of our policy. Make him understand that there will be body bags coming back to Russia because the Ukrainian people are going to be supported with small arms that we are providing so they can resist through territorial militias, not just the Stinger and Javelin missiles that will combat their tanks and planes, but also the Ukrainian people, again, without United States troops, will defend themselves.
How about, obviously, 100,000 troops at the border sends a message, which is for sure what President Putin is intending to do. But we've seen other incremental actions from Russia, cyber attacks, things of that sort. Do you think that should be responded to with the same kind of force as if troops come storming across the border?
That's a great question, Eric, and it's a fundamental one because Vladimir Putin is conducting a kind of hybrid war right now. Military action, amassing troops at the borders, cyber attacks, several of them recently, and then misinformation. His objective is to divide, demoralize, and destabilize Ukraine, in effect, to undermine its leadership. And that's his objective across Western democracies. We saw it in 2016 in the United States, where he spread misinformation, tried to undermine our election. He did it in France and the UK. He's doing it in Eastern Europe. We need to fortify the Eastern European countries that are part of NATO and our allies and partners there, because you're absolutely right. Cyber attacks need to be met seriously and strenuously. And of course, he's attacked the United States through cyber. SolarWinds, which was the most massive attack in recent history on the United States, fostered by Russia. So he's using these asymmetric means of attack on the United States. And we need to understand that his game plan is to divide us and to profit himself and Russia, profit himself in financial terms. He has assets hidden around the world, and part of our sanctions ought to be aimed at the top leadership of Russia.
You've qualified a couple of your answers in this interview by saying, but no U.S. troops. Is there a line Putin could cross that would change your opinion on that? And why is that such an important distinction to you? We have about a minute left, Senator.
The line would be an attack on NATO. We have obligations under NATO to defend our NATO allies, which could, I emphasize, could involve United States troops. Hopefully, there will be no need for it. But obviously, with Ukraine, not a member of NATO, we have no such legal treaty obligation. And my hope is that he'll refrain even from Ukraine, because the Ukrainian people themselves, and here's the really important other impression I had after the visit, are really resolute and resilient. They're determined to defend their own country. We ought to give them the means to do so.
I know you said that a bipartisan visit in such acrimonious political times in the U.S., sending a bipartisan delegation was meant to send a message. We appreciate you joining us just back from Ukraine to give us that perspective. And of course, we'll continue to follow this story and see you back here on CT22 again. Senator Blumenthal, thank you.
Thank you, Eric.